Riding a motorcycle isn't just about what you ride, how you look, or your destination. It's about freedom and adventure. Once you start, it becomes a part of who you are. It gets in your blood. But a word of caution. If you dilute your blood with alcohol and get on your bike, well, you've lost it. Because that's not riding. That's just being stupid. Alcohol slows your reflexes and coordination. And please notice these things. So remember why you ride. Because if you don't ride sober, you will get pulled over.
Hello, everyone. This is Alan Wayne. Welcome to the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. This is the second new episode of the series, and we are celebrating a brand new release from Deep Elm Records. That's right. Still putting out brand new releases after all these years, and they will continue on through their 21st year, I'm told, in 2016. So not a label to rest on their laurels. They're putting out amazing music every day. Or if not every day, at least every so often, but just enough to keep our whistles wet. This release is from a band called Inward Oceans, and they are a cinematic post-rock trio out of Vancouver, Canada. Now, a couple interesting things about Inward Oceans as I set up here real quick. The official release on this, which was, by the way, released today, already has 39 fans on Bandcamp after being released for the first time today. Already 39 fans, a few reviews. We'll get to those in just a moment. But the press on this is as follows. Beautifully moving from start to finish, Paths from Home is a powerful yet delicate masterwork of cinematic proportion. But unlike most other post-rock outfits, Inward Oceans uses piano rather than guitars to facilitate rhythm, timbre, and texture, displaying a well-refined ability to elicit emotion with the seemingly simplest of notes and chord progressions. Each track on this phenomenal debut tells a mesmerizing story that unfolds organically in your ears. But make no mistake, songcrafting at this level requires rarefied talent, combining just the right amount of ambient, tonal, and spatial elements to the resonating strings creates a sonic depth experience worthy of headphone listening. And believe me, folks, I've been listening to this on the headphones in preparing for this show, and it is unbelievable. You just want to sit there, close your eyes, lean back, and experience the pure tranquility and power, if those two are not oxymoronic terms, the pure power tranquility of Inward Oceans. This continues, an album about finding the place where you know you are meant to be, whether that's in your head, your heart, or your home. Paths from Home is a dramatic journey of the senses. This is music that humbles you and connects you to an awareness of inner emotion. One thing I have to say about Deep Elm Records, this label that I am a huge fan of, obviously, is that their descriptions of each album that they release are so in-depth, and just the words that are used are just crafted beautifully to describe the music that is being released. Now, this part comes from pianist and percussionist Bobby Cull, and this is on the official release, I guess you would say the release junket or the press release for this album. He says, quote, I wrote part of the arrangements in the living room of an old family piano. I got scratch tracks down as I watched out the front window. The river valley descends down from the front of the house, and the autumn weather has set in. Although across the river the ground is constantly being torn up by heavy industry vehicles, there's a significant amount of greenery surrounding the waste they leave. It creates this sort of marred beauty that I've grown incredibly attached to over the years. As I watched my daughters play in the front room together and heard the sounds of a meal being prepared in the kitchen, I let the moment sink deep in my heart. I honestly didn't know what I would play when I put my fingers to the keys, but every time, without fail, a melody unique to my ears came forth. It felt as if a soundtrack was playing through me. Nearly all our songs were birthed in this manner. It is my hope that others will be moved by these themes to life, drawing their attention internally as they come to appreciate their own connectivity to this world of ours. Once again, that was pianist and percussionist Bobby Cole of the band Inward Oceans. And already on Bandcamp, this release is getting some reviews and some hype. A member by the name of Benja, otherwise known as Moons Eat Stars, says that the track Amelioration is my personal favorite. A brilliant track with different stages, each incredible and moving. And of course, he says his favorite track is Amelioration. Well, with a glittering endorsement like that, why don't we hear the track Amelioration from Inward Oceans? By the way, if you folks would like to purchase these tracks, you can purchase them from deepelmdigital.com, where you can name your price, pay what you can, pay what you feel the songs are worth, be more than motivated to be generous. I've noticed that I've paid more for a lot of this music because I just feel that the gift of music is this eternal thing. And you can take music wherever you go, especially on Bandcamp, on the Bandcamp app. It's terrific. You can play these songs wherever you go. They can almost provide a soundtrack for your life. That's one thing that Deep Elm Records is good at, one of the many, is providing music to the masses that that creates this soundtrack ability to one's life. And I can say it myself, in moments that I need to be serene and calm, I know that I can listen to bands like Inward Oceans, Lights in Motion, some other post-rock on the label, but also there are other bands like Moonlit Sailor. When I need to be kicked up a notch, some of their tracks really get me going. And then there's 500 Miles to Memphis when I'm just in an extremely bad mood and I need to laugh and stomp my feet. There's something for everyone at www.deepelmdigital.com, or just visit www.deepelm.com. Follow the simple instructions and you will be exposed to some amazing music. Well, without further ado, let's start this off. This is from the new release, Paths from Home. This is Inward Oceans, and this is Amelioration here on the unofficial Deep Elm podcast. Tonight, celebrating the new release on Deep Elm Records. When I hear that track, Amelioration by Inward Oceans, I can't help but think of balance. The song has this, Deep Elm likes to use the phrase timber. It has this growth and it has this flow that it's not too, it starts out mellow, but then it just continues to build towards, I wouldn't say a peak climax, but it's definitely not the cinematic bombasticity, if that's even a word, or the bombastic nature of a band like Lights in Motion, where the peaks are just full of just huge swells. But it's a nice, it's a nice feeling. It's a good feeling. It has a good flow. And being a drummer myself, I love the fact that there was actual percussion in there. A nice kit, it sounds like, was being played there. Once again, Amelioration by Inward Oceans from their new release on the Deep Elm label called Paths from Home. Now, a little bit more about the band. I've been reading snippets from their press junket here. Bassist and guitarist Justin Carter continues, quote, Paths from Home is unique in how it was recorded. We took our recording microphones into the community. 5 separate recording scenarios were used throughout the album, from outdoor setups to an old vintage piano in a vintage home to the more traditional soundproof studio room. We also used one of the outdoor pianos that Vancouverites have placed in and around in the city. Now that's interesting, isn't it? That citizens of the city of Vancouver, British Columbia, have actually placed pianos in public. You have to be a fairly civilized society to do that, because I don't know what would happen if we placed pianos in public in Los Angeles. I dare not think what might happen if we did that here. There are a few uncivilized folks out here, as I'm sure there are everywhere, but that says something about Vancouver, that they can place pianos in public and have people actually come up and play them and not be afraid that those pianos will become kindling or firewood or whatever. Pretty neat idea. He continues, Justin Carter from the band Inward Oceans. This same piano has been used by great recording artists such as Juno Award winner Murray Porter and Keys to the Streets. With piano-based music, we find it's often either very classical sounding with no effects or heavily affected. We wanted to find balance, as I said earlier, a balance in that last track. We wanted to find balance between the two. Our inspiration comes from special moments in time, nature, and the city skyline at night. It's those moments when you're removed from the business of life and able to breathe and reflect. This is the place where we want to take listeners with our music. And certainly, after hearing this entire album, that is exactly where one is taken, a place of reflection, a place where you can be quiet and just think about what really is important in life. We've had so many tragedies occur in the last few days. The San Bernardino mass shooting, which occurred near my city here in Los Angeles, or just outside Los Angeles, about an hour. And the untimely death of Scott Weiland, who was a huge influence in my musical upbringing. Scott Weiland's Stone Temple Pilots, even the 12 Bar Blues album he put out was a huge influence on me. And, of course, Tiny Music and everything that Stone Temple Pilots put out had a huge influence on me. And there's so much negative floating around with the 24-hour news cycle, and it seems that death and destruction are everywhere. It's hard to even walk out of your home. But this is music where one can find comfort, where one can sit and think of the good things in life and get away from the busyness and get away from all of the issues that may be plaguing your life and just lose yourself in a musical journey. Quite a bit of Deep Elm material will do that to you. I personally can attest to that. Quite a bit of Deep Elm material is actually very therapeutic, and in my discussions with John, he feels the same way. It's part of his part of his direction for the label is to try and put music out there that is helpful, that can convey emotion, that can help one struggle along in this life. It's more than just a label, it's a state of mind with Deep Elm Records. It's a state of mind and a mission. And Inward Oceans is the latest portion of that mission, the latest, I guess you could say the latest salvo that's been fired in the mission against negativity and destructiveness in the world, and really a testament to the music and to the ability of music to heal. Now, on Bandcamp, Faith Harkey writes, quote, "Samples are uplifting." This is before the album was released. Deep Elm has a album preview tool, which is very cool. When you go to buy anything on deepelm.com or go to deepelmdigital.com, they have a preview tool, which is basically a snippet of a few different tracks that gives you an idea of what the album's about. Very user-friendly. It really cuts down on the buyer remorse. I'll tell you that much. It's hard to have a bad purchase from Deep Elm Records, especially with the Name Your Price feature. However, it cuts the buyer's remorse down even more so when you have a sampling of what you're about to purchase. Faith Harkey says, "Samples are uplifting, cinematic, glorious. Can't wait for the full album release." I'm sure she picked it up. I actually pre-ordered mine. She says her favorite track is a track called Homecoming, which is heavily featured on the album preview and was actually was the free track that was released to those who pre-ordered the album. So Faith Harkey, I hope you're enjoying the album Inward Oceans. Hope you're enjoying the album Paths from Home this evening and reflecting on whatever you reflect on. I couldn't think of anything there. But before I continue rambling, let me go ahead and play this track. This is Homecoming from the new release from Deep Elm Records by the band Inward Oceans called Paths from Home. when I hear that track, Homecoming, from Inward Oceans, I'm really reminded of what it's like to come home. It kind of hit its mark there. When you go through the day, it's kind of, your day is just moving along, and then that beat, that dun 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 dun, reminds me of when I'm coming home and the pitter patter of my kids' feet. I have 2 little girls, and their feet just running up, and Daddy, you're home, and just the hugs and the sheer joy I have, making me realize why I work so hard every day, is because I want to make sure those kids have a home, have a warm bed to sleep in. This music just, for some reason, it gets one thinking. It really does. It gets one thinking about the good and the good things in your life. Just it promotes positive flow. And that's one of the reasons I'm so high on this album from Inward Oceans. It promotes a positive flow. There's so much negativity, as I've mentioned before, in the world. And this album promotes an amazing amount of positive flow. So continuing from the press release from the album today, that was released today from Inward Oceans, it goes on, quote, this is from Bobby, who was heard earlier in the program, quote, "Our name is both delicate and strong. The word ocean describes this idea well, and in the literal sense was meaningful as we all came to Vancouver to be closer to the ocean. It brought us together in a way. Inward describes the reflective, emotional tone of our music. It describes the thoughts and feelings that we hold, sometimes very deep within ourselves. This is where our music is born, from introspection and contemplative thought about our experiences." He continues, "The human experience creates a vast ocean within, so to speak, made up of feelings, thoughts, and memories. These deep aspects of ourselves often need to be wrestled out. Here we chose songs to make that happen. We chose the cover photo because it represents the vision of our band. To use a metaphor, the glacier represents the emotions, thoughts, and feelings that are often frozen up inside of us. The sun represents music. Music can melt frozen emotions into a moving, life-giving force. Music allows us to feel things we wouldn't have otherwise felt. That has always been the goal of our writing." End quote. I keep mentioning the positivity. I don't know another word. I mean, the exuberance, the good feelings, the good vibes, however you want to put it. It comes through in the writing, and it comes through in the music. It's one thing to write a song. It's another thing to perform it to its most emotional ability, to the ability to stir emotion and to make people feel something. That is unbelievably apparent in Deep Elm material. It will make you feel something. It will make you emotional in one way or the other, which all music should, but Deep Elm has just this, it's as though they have a needle to pierce your soul. And whatever's on the tip of that needle, whether it's happiness, sadness, melancholy, joy, any emotion you can dial up, it will come through in music that you can find at deepelm.com. Now, the press release ends with Vancouver-based Inward Oceans is Justin Carter on bass and guitar, Bobby Cool on piano and percussion, and Mike Workman on guitar. All songs were written and produced by Inward Oceans. Engineering assistance by Gabby Pontier and Tiffany Pontier. Mastered at New Heights Studio in Vancouver. Cover photo by Adam Thompson, taken at the Admonson Scott South Pole Station, South Pole. Band photo by Inward Oceans. The band will be releasing an instant YouTube video for each song on Paths from Home in succession over the next 10 weeks. So go to YouTube and look that up. Just type in Inward Oceans, and you will see probably some amazing cinematography. Because if you take this music and you apply pictures to it, an unbelievable emotional response. Justin and Bobby are also members of the Skylife, which has released 3 full-length albums on Deep Elm Records. So check out the Skylife, another great post-rock outfit that produces this emotional, enduring music. So check them out. They're on Deep Elm at deepelm.com. And it says, to wrap it up, Inward Oceans is soon to be a point of reference in the emerging genre of cinematic post-rock piano. Now, there are other artists like Lights in Motion U-137, which is receiving huge... Both of those artists are receiving huge responses on Spotify right now. And that's one thing about Deep Elm. That's another thing about Deep Elm. Ahead of the curve. John and his folks have such an ear for music, and they also have their ear to the ground. They have one ear to the wind, listening to the music that is coming through and passing their ears, and they have another ear to the ground. And somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle, that meets and produces the spark that Deep Elm Records has. Lights in Motion U-137, Carly Commando, another one of my favorites. You can check out an interview I had with her a couple months back on this channel in this series of podcasts. It's under Deep Elm Archives, an interview with Carly Commando, and it was released to celebrate her latest release on Deep Elm Records entitled Daydream. Sorry if for messing that up. Every Day, or Dream Life, excuse me. Oh my goodness, I need more coffee. Dream Life is the release from Carly Commando, the latest release. And of course, she is known for the song Every Day, which was tied to a viral video on YouTube that reached 180 million views. And also bands like Hammock, Helios, and Sigur Rós are bands that Inward Oceans will remind you of if you are familiar with them. And also check those other bands out. You'll have all of your post-rock needs covered, and probably an official soundtrack to your life by checking out music at deepelm.com and those other bands that sound like Inward Oceans. To wrap this show up, we are going to play the title track from this album, Paths from Home. And as I've said before, I'll say it again, you can name your price, pay what you can at www.deepelm.com. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I've enjoyed passing on the information to you, passing on the good news about Deep Elm Records, where you can pay, where you can name your price, let me start over. Deep Elm Records, where you can name your price for priceless music. Hope to speak to you next time on the next edition of the Unofficial Deep Elm podcast. We have several different ideas we're working on right now, but the next one, you can be certain, will be informative, and I'm hoping you go out and grab this album, as well as the many others that we will be profiling on this channel. Paths from Home by the band Inward Oceans, the latest release on Deep Elm Records. Go check it out, www.deepelm.com. Many thanks to John, and many thanks to all of you listening out there. Until next time, stay independent.
Heard the call to build your small business? Make it happen with a .net domain name, the place for dreamers for 30 years and counting. Visit keepdreamingup.net for tips and advice, whether you're just getting started or looking to grow. That's keepdreamingup.net.